All right, shalom, brothers and sisters.
Shalom.
First and foremost, we want to give all praises to the Most High Ahaya, Bahashim Yeshaya, for allowing us to come together and put together this lesson. The title of this lesson is Passover or Easter. Passover or Easter. And, it's like that because we got to ask that question. The first question is, what is Passover? And the next question we got to ask is, what is Easter? And what we have to find out is Easter biblical? And what is its origin? All right. So before we go there, let's bring out this scripture. We're going to go to 2 Corinthians chapter 4. Yeah, title is called Passover or Easter. So we have to find out if Easter is even biblical, because for many years before we came into this truth, we were celebrating Easter. So let's go to 2 Corinthians chapter 4. Start at verse 3. Second Corinthians chapter 4, verse 3.
2 Corinthians chapter 4, verse 3.
Go ahead.
But if our gospel be hid, it is hid to them that are lost.
So Paul is saying, if the gospel that he's preaching be hid, is only hid to those who are lost. You're gonna see there's a reason why the gospel has been hid to the lost. Go ahead.
Verse 4.
Mm-hmm.
In whom the God of this world hath blinded the minds of them.
You see, it says the God of who? The God of this world has blinded. Read that again.
Verse 4.
Mm-hmm.
In whom the God of this world hath blinded the minds of them.
You see, the God of this world has blinded the mind of the lost. So there's a reason why the gospel has been hid to so many, because the God of this world has hid the gospel to the many. Go ahead.
Which believe not.
Which believe not.
Lest the light of the glorious gospel of Christ, who is the image of God, should shine unto them.
You see that? So because the God of this world has hid the gospel to the lost, they can't see Christ for what he really is and why he came and what was his purpose. So now, to parallel with this scripture, let's go to the Old Testament. We're going to go into Job 9:24. Let's see who's the God of this world. And a lot of us should already know who the God of this world is. It's Lucifer, Satan himself.
Mm-hmm.
So let's see what Job had to say about the God of this world. Right? So we're in the book of Job, chapter 9, verse 24.
Job chapter 9, verse 24.
Go ahead.
The earth is given into the hand of the wicked.
So the earth has been given into the hands of the wicked.
He covereth the faces of the judges thereof.
And he covereth the faces of the judges thereof. So we see that the God of this world, like it said in 2 Corinthians, that the God of this world has hid the gospel from the lost. And we see that the world is in the hand of the wicked, who's covering the faces of the judges thereof. And the judges are who? The judges were always the children of Israel that the Most High set up. Right? So since these people has been lost and been scattered, they can't really come to the knowledge of the truth. So that brings us to why we have to find out, what is Easter and where did it come from? Because we have to really see if that's a feast or if that's a holiday that the Most High, the creator of heaven and earth, want us to follow. Mm-hmm. Right? So let's go to the origin of Passover. So we're gonna look at Passover real quick, because they say Easter is the same thing as Passover, because the same day the Jewish people are having their Passover, the churches are partaking in Easter, right? So let's go to the Bible. We're going to start at Exodus, the 12th chapter. We're going to go to Exodus chapter 12. We're going to start at verse 1. so we can see the origin of Passover. So we have to understand what we believe in and what we follow in. Go ahead.
Exodus chapter 12, verse 1.
Go ahead.
And the Most High spake unto Moses and Aaron in the land of Egypt, saying, verse 2, This month shall be unto you the beginning of months.
Go ahead.
It shall be the first month of the year to you.
Go ahead.
Verse 3, Speak ye unto the congregation of Israel, saying, In the 10th day of this month they shall take to them every man a lamb, according to the house of their fathers, a lamb for an house.
So this scripture right here is actually, explaining the beginning, or what's the origin of Passover. So the Bible actually gives us a origin of what we're supposed to be following. So we're gonna compare the two. We're gonna see the origin of Passover and see the origin of Easter. So go ahead, continue.
Verse 4. And if the household be too little for the lamb, let him and his neighbor next unto his house take it according to the number of the souls. Every man according to his eating shall make your count for the lamb.
Go ahead.
Verse 5. Your lamb shall be without blemish, a male of the first year. Ye shall take it out from the sheep or from the goats.
So now he's showing them the steps in keeping this tradition, or keeping this feast, or keeping this holiday. So they had to find a lamb or from the lambs, or from the sheep, or from the goats without blemish, a lamb of the first year. And you have to share it with, if your household size was too big, you have to actually share it with your neighbor. Or if it was if your household was too small, excuse me, you would have to share it with your neighbor. Go ahead.
Verse 6. And ye shall keep it up until the 14th day of the same month.
Okay, go ahead.
And the whole assembly of the congregation of Israel shall kill it in the evening. Verse 7.
So you see, on the first month of the year, of the calendar year that the Most High gave the children of Israel, on the 14th day, they had to come together to kill their Passover, to kill their lamb on that night and eat it. And we're going to see what else they had to do. Go ahead.
Verse 7. And they shall take of the blood and strike it on the two sides post of the upper door post of the house, wherein they shall eat it. Verse 8. And they shall eat the flesh in that night, roast with fire and unleavened bread, and with bitter herbs they shall eat it. So
you see, so another thing, after they kill the lamb, they would have to take the blood of the lamb and put it on the doorposts in front of their house. And there was a reason for that. And the Most High is going to explain the reason for them to put the blood of the lamb or the goat or the sheep over the doorposts of their house. There's a reason for that. Go ahead.
Verse 9. Eat not of it raw, nor sodden at all with water, but roast with fire. So
the Most High wanted us to eat our meat well done, not medium rare, not, rare, or, what I'm saying? We're supposed to eat our meat well done. Go ahead.
His head with his legs, and with the pertinence thereof. Verse 10. And ye shall let nothing of it remain until the morning, and that which remaineth of it until the morning ye shall burn with fire. Verse 11. And thus shall ye eat it, with your loins girded, your shoes on your feet, and your staff in your hand, and ye shall eat it in haste. It is the Most High's Passover. So
you see, it was called the Most High's Passover. The way they had to sit down and eat it in haste, because they didn't have no time. So there's all the significance to what the Most High is showing the people what to do and how to follow this particular holiday or holy day. Go ahead.
Verse 12. For I will pass through the land of Egypt this night, and will smite all the firstborn of the land of Egypt, both man and beast. And against all the gods of Egypt I will execute judgment. I am the Most High.
Go ahead.
Verse 13. And the blood shall be to you for a token upon the houses where ye are. And when I see the blood, I will pass over you.
You see that? So that's why it's called Passover, because the angel passed over the houses where he seen the blood of the lamb over the houses. All right, so that way he didn't kill the firstborn of the children of Israel, but just of the Egyptians. So that's why it's called Passover, or in the Hebrew it's called Pasach. But go ahead. Is that on 13?
No, it's still got a little bit more left.
Go ahead.
And the plague shall not be upon you to destroy you when I smite the land of Egypt.
You see that? So that was the reason why it was called Passover. But after the Feast of Passover, there was something else. You could read 14 to 15.
Verse 14. And this day shall be unto you for a memorial.
So you see, he said that this day, Passover, should be a memorial. That's a feast to keep. For what?
And ye shall keep it a feast to the Most High throughout your generations.
So he said that the Passover should be kept throughout all our generations. Go ahead.
Ye shall keep it a feast by the ordinance forever.
Forever. So you see, he said that we should keep this feast as an ordinance forever. So now we're going to see if he said Passover should be kept forever, or should it be Easter to be kept forever. So go ahead.
Verse 15.
Yeah.
7 days shall ye eat unleavened bread. Even the first day ye shall put away leaven out of your houses. For whosoever eateth leavened bread from the first day until the 7th day, that soul shall be cut off from Israel.
Okay, so after the Passover, you would have 7 days of eating unleavened bread. That's the second part of the feast of that holiday, of that holy day, right? So now we see that was a holiday or a holy day that the Most High Ahaya has, he has instituted for his people to follow, right? So now we're gonna go into Leviticus to show how he further put a stamp on what he instituted from the beginning, right? We're gonna go to the book of Leviticus, and we're gonna go to Leviticus 23, and we're gonna start at verse 1. Leviticus, the 23rd chapter, and we're going to start at verse 1.
Leviticus chapter 23, verse 1.
Go ahead.
And the Most High spake unto Moses, saying, verse 2, Speak unto the children of Israel, and say unto them concerning the feast of the Most High, which ye shall proclaim to be holy convocations.
So you see, the feast of the Most High is actually a law. It's a command. That's something that we are supposed to keep. You understand? That's what he told the people to keep. He said, this is his feast. This is what, so basically we have to proclaim these as his feast because it's biblical. It's here. We can read it. All right, go ahead.
Even these are my feasts.
See, even these are his feasts. Go ahead.
Verse 3, 6 days shall work be done, but the 7th day is the Sabbath of rest in holy convocation. Ye shall do no work therein. So you see, he said 6 days shall work be done, but on the 7th day is the day of rest. But he also said it should also be a holy convocation, meaning it's a holy gathering. You gotta come together on that day too as well if you can. You know what I'm saying? Go ahead. It is the Sabbath of the Most High in all your dwellings.
See, in all your dwellings. Go ahead.
Verse 4. These are the feasts of the Most High, even holy convocations.
See, so now he's going into another feast. He's going to another feast, even a more holy convocation. So on this feast, it's supposed to be a holy gathering too. So let's see what feast is this. Go ahead.
Which ye shall proclaim in your seasons. Verse 5. In the 14th day of the first month.
The same thing that he said in Exodus. The 14th day of the first month. And we know right now we're approaching the 14th day. Coming up by almost, towards the end of this week. We're going to have Passover. So he said on the 14th day of the first month. Go ahead.
At even.
At even, meaning at sundown. Go ahead.
Is the Most High's Passover.
Is the Most High's Passover.
Go Verse 6. And on the 15th day of the same month.
And the 15th day on the same month.
Is the feast of unleavened bread unto the Most High.
You see that? So the 15th day starts the day or the feast of unleavened bread. So it's another holy convocation. Go ahead.
7 days ye must eat unleavened bread. Verse 7. In the first day ye shall have in holy convocation, ye shall do no civil work therein. So you see, that was another feast. So we see, not another feast, but the Passover
is a feast that the Most High proclaimed that we should keep throughout all our generations, and it's written in the law for us to keep. So now we're actually seeing the origin of where Passover came from. So now let's go to the New Testament now to see even Christ kept the Passover. Even Yeshua kept the Passover. So let's go and let's take a look to see what they were actually doing during the time of Christ and how they kept the Passover. Did they follow the instructions that was left by the Most High? And did they continue in the same thing that the Most High told them to do? So we're going to the book of Matthew, right? We're going to Matthew. We're going to start at the 26th chapter. Matthew 26. Start at verse 17. Yeah.
Matthew chapter 26, verse 17.
Go ahead.
Now the first day of the feast of unleavened bread, the disciples came to Yeshua, saying unto him, Where wilt thou that we prepared for thee to eat the Passover?
So now let's take a look at this. It says, now the first day of the feast of unleavened bread, the disciples came to Yeshua. So the first day of the feast of unleavened bread, when is that? It's the 15th day of the first month, because the first day is the Passover night. Then the next day would be the feast of unleavened bread. So as you can see, they was following it exactly the way the Most High said it. The first day of the feast of unleavened bread, which is actually the 15th day. See? So read that again from the top so you can get some understanding. Go ahead.
Verse 17. Now the first day of the feast of unleavened bread.
So that first day is actually what? The 15th day. That the Passover is the 14th day. Then the feast is actually the next day at sundown. You understand, guys? So that feast starts the feast of unleavened bread, where there should be you can't eat leaven from that point on. Everything got to be thrown out, or if it's not open, just don't. You know what I'm saying? Just unleavened bread for the whole 7 days from the 15th day, from the 14th day sundown into the 15th day. That's the feast of unleavened bread. Go ahead.
The disciples came to Yeshua, saying unto him, Where wilt thou that we prepare for thee to eat the Passover?
So you see, they was asking Yeshua at that time, or they were asking Christ that, where do you want us to go to prepare the Passover? How come the disciples, if the disciples were called the first Christians, and Christianity is out right now, why didn't they ask them where can we prepare the Easter celebration? But they asked Christ, where do you want us to keep to get the Passover to prepare it? Like where can we prepare it at? It's obvious that Christ and the disciples were keeping the Old Testament feasts. Go ahead.
Verse 18. And he said, Go into the city to search a man, and say unto him, The master saith, My time is at hand. I will keep the Passover at thy house with my disciples. Verse 19. And the disciples did as Yeshua had appointed them, and they made ready the Passover. So nowhere do we see that they made ready the Easter celebration. They made ready the Passover. So earlier we found out the origin of Passover. The reason why they're keeping it from generation to generation is to remember what the Most High did in Egypt. What the Most High did what? He saved them out of the land of Egypt. Why? When he passed over the houses where they seen the blood of the lamb. So it's obvious that Christ and the disciples were still keeping that tradition, because that was their forefathers, that was their ancestors. So now jump down to verse 26. We're gonna read 26 to 28. Verse 26.
Go ahead.
And as they were eating.
So basically, now we gotta understand that, so we just read that Christ kept the Passover, but now we gotta see that what's the new understanding when it comes to Passover. We still do remember what the Most High did for our people in Egypt, but Christ actually now becomes the Passover sacrifice, because he was offered up on Passover night. So we're going to read how Christ has become the Passover lamb. That's the significance of Christ being in the picture, because if we were still keeping it according to the old tradition, we would all need to be killing a lamb and sacrificing and putting blood in. You know what I'm saying? We don't do that no more.
But he's the sacrifice.
But exactly. So we see that Christ is the sacrifice now. And here's how it is explained, how he explains it. Starting at verse 26.
Verse 26.
Go ahead.
And as they were eating, Yeshua took bread and blessed it, and brake it, and gave it to the disciples, and said, take it, eat. This is my body. Verse 27. And he took the cup.
So you see, he said, take it, and he took bread, and he broke it, and he said, take it and eat. This is my body, which is what?
And verse 27.
God, yeah.
And he took the cup and gave thanks and gave it to them, saying, drink ye all of it. Verse 28. For this is my blood of the New Testament, which is shed for many for the remission of sins.
So you see that? So Christ's body was broken. So when he broke the bread, that symbolized that his body would break for his people. And the blood symbolizes what our people had to shed when we had a sacrifice. The blood of that animal would cover our sins. So now Christ is showing that his blood would be the new sacrifice, would be for the remission of sins. So now when we come together on Passover, now that Christ is in the picture, we still remember what our ancestors went through and how the Most High saved them out of Egypt, but now we're doing it knowing that Christ has become our sacrifice. He has become, you understand? He has become that sacrificial lamb. You understand? Where you was at? What
verse 29.
Okay, go ahead.
But I say unto you, I will not drink henceforth of this fruit of the vine until that day when I drink it new with you in my Father's kingdom. So you see, we just went from the Old Testament to the New Testament to show that Passover, that's what was followed in the Bible. If we're supposed to be Bible followers or Christians, like they would say they are, or we are, whatever the case is. So we've seen the origin of Passover. What was the reason for Passover? How it's supposed to be kept? How Christ and the disciples kept it, and the reason why they kept it, and what was going on. So now, let's go to the word Easter now, the Easter celebration. Now let's go to the book of Acts, because they did something very clever here to get a lot of people to follow Easter, knowing that Easter is an ancient pagan holiday. It's not a holiday that was, instituted by the Most High, because we just read in the Old Testament what holy day the Most High instituted throughout the earth. And nowhere did we read Easter. So now we're in the book of Acts chapter 12. We're going to start at verse 1. Acts chapter 12 and starting at verse 1. You're going to see something very deceitful here. Go ahead. Acts chapter 12, verse 1. Now about that time, Herod the king stretched forth his hands to vex certain of the church.
So you see, Herod the king was actually, this is actually a different Herod. Another Herod that was after Christ. Because there was a Herod when Christ was born, but he died. This is another one. And now what he's trying to do is he's trying to destroy what Christ tried to institute on the earth. He's attacking the churches. But go ahead.
Verse 2, and he killed James, the brother of John, with the sword.
Go ahead.
Verse 3, and because he saw it pleased the Jews.
You see, even after Christ, certain Jews were still trying to persecute Christ's disciples because they still didn't understand what Christ was here for. So there was a lot of Jews at that time, a lot of our people who did not accept Christ still. This is same thing as today. Ain't nothing new under the sun. So go ahead.
Verse 3, and because he saw it pleased the Jews, he proceeded further to take Peter also. Then were the days of unleavened bread.
See, then were the days of unleavened bread. So this was during the time of Passover, the feast. Go ahead.
Verse 4, and when he had apprehended him, he put him in prison and delivered him to 4 quaternions of soldiers to keep him, intending after Easter to bring him forth to the people.
So you see, we see that they just put the word Easter in there. And we know that Easter is not synonymous with Passover at all, even though they would make it seem like Easter and Passover is the same thing. So we just read that it was during the Feast of Unleavened Bread. So we just read in the Old Testament what came before the Feast of Unleavened Bread? Passover. So now they're making it seem that after the Feast of Easter, they could do what they wanted to do. But now, when you go into the Greek, right, for the word Passover, when you see the word Easter there, right, I'm gonna pull up the Greek. The Greek word for Easter is similar to the Hebrew. The Greek word is, where am I?
What's the number?
I'll give you the concordance number 2. The Greek number is G 3957, and the pronunciation of it is the Greek word is Paskan. You see, Paskan, right? And it says of Chaldee origin, but the word that is there, the word that it was derived from is H64. I'm gonna give you 52 because 52 is the root word. But it says the definition here. It says the Passover, the meal, the day, the festival, or the special sacrifice connected with it. So instead of using the word Passover in the scripture in the New Testament, they injected the word Easter here, right? Mm-hmm. So the Hebrew word for Passover would be did I give it to you? It's H6452, and the Hebrew word for it is actually Pasan or Pasach. I should say Pasach, which means Passover. That's the Hebrew word that they got the word that they so-called got the word Easter from, right? So now I want y'all to pay attention to something. Mm-hmm. The word Easter, well, matter of fact, the word Passover, it appears in the Bible 71 times. The word Passover, and guess how much time the word Easter appears in the Bible? Just one time. So you can see the iffiness. If the Most High wanted to say the word Easter, he would have said it throughout the Bible. But there's a reason why that word was injected into the scriptures, was to lead people into paganism. Mm-hmm. And that leads me to, this right here. I'm going to show an image. All right. I'll put this image up. So this is the goddess Astar. I don't know if you guys know about the goddess Astar. I'll show it around. So you see, it says the goddess Astar. She's also known as Astar, Astaroth, Easter, and the Queen of Heaven. All right. So let me take a look at the picture so people can see. This is the goddess Astar, which is equivalent to Easter, or this is who the world is celebrating when you celebrate Easter, because the word Astar is actually the same thing as Easter. It's the same. It's just a different wording. So you see, all right. So we're gonna do some research on this goddess Astar and the word Easter, right? So before I get into that, I want to say the origin of Astar or Astaroth. So Astar, she was supposed to be a goddess. This is actually called the goddess of fertility, right? And the way she got her fame, there was a story that says that she found an injured bird in the forest, and she healed the injured bird. And the way she could heal that bird was by turning it into a rabbit or to a bunny. So now the bird became half bunny, half bird. And the story continues, and it says that because the bird was so grateful that she healed her, the bunny / bird then started laying eggs for her as a token of her, of appreciation. So now we see where you get the Easter eggs from, and we know that rabbits, they're very fertile. They have a lot of offspring. They have a lot of kids, and that Astar is the goddess of fertility, or a goddess of sex and sexuality and all that stuff. It's so perverse. But we're gonna go into the Zondervan Bible Dictionary, right? Yeah. And I want you to read the definition for Astaroth.
Which one? The first one or?
No, the second one.
Second one. Okay.
Yeah.
Ashtaroth.
Mm-hmm.
Ashtaroth is plural of Ashtoreth, name of any of the fertility goddess of the ancient Near East Babylonian Ashtar, Greek Ashtar, in Canaan, or Canaan, a consort of El Baal.
See, it's a consort of Baal, and we know Baal is a synonymous with what? With Yahweh, and that's the god. That's the god of mischief, and all that stuff.
It's basically Yahweh.
Yeah, Yahweh. So a star is synonymous is in conjunction with or in cahoots with Baal or Yahweh. Continue reading.
The plural Ashtaroth refers to the many local goddess, also to the city of Og, king of Bashan.
King of Bashan, and we know Og. He was a giant. He was one of the giants who made it after the flood, the king of Bashan. So now you can see the origin of this, and this god or this goddess goes back to ancient Babylon. So that was a Babylonian practice that they used to follow this god Ashtoreth, or the goddess Astar, which we have here, the goddess Astar. All right. So they was worshiping and praising that god all the way from the time of the Babylonians, from the time of Nimrod, the first ruler of Babylon. So now let's go into the Old Testament. Let's go into the Bible to see what the Bible had to say about this god Ashtaroth, or some you can call her Ashtaroth, or Ashtar, or Easter, or the god or the queen of heaven. It's all the same god that the ancient Babylonians were following. So now we see where this word Easter is coming from. Like, it's coming from all the way back then from Babylon. So now they're trying to integrate paganism into Christianity, and that's what Constantine did in 325 AD with the Nicene Creed in the Council of Nicaea. He actually, since he was a pagan and he followed these goddesses and gods, he actually wanted to integrate paganism into Christianity, and he did accomplish that, because every Sunday in April or March, wherever, when they have Easter, everybody is following and celebrating Easter, or Ashtoreth, or Ashtaroth. Mm-hmm. That's the god that they're worshiping. So let's go to the book of Judges. All right, Judges chapter 10. Let's look at something that the Most High was upset about, that the children of Israel was engaging in. Judges chapter 10 and verse 6. Remember, the Most High said that in the book of Job, that the world is given into the hand of the wicked, and he covereth the faces of the judges thereof. And we're going into the book of Judges, mm-hmm. And this is the time where the judges of the earth were the children of Israel. They were judging the children of Israel. They were supposed to be the ones. There was no priest at the time, so they were the ones who was supposed to carry out judgment, right, to all the tribes, mm-hmm. and keep the tribe in, because there was no kings. Mm-hmm. You understand? So now we can see how the judges of the earth were being covered. Their eyes were being covered to follow different gods, because the ruler of this earth, Satan, he's doing that. So we go in the book of Judges chapter 10 and verse 6.
Judges chapter 10 verse 6.
Go ahead.
And the children of Israel did evil again in the sight of the Most High.
Go ahead.
And served Baalim.
And they served Baalim. Go ahead.
And Ashtaroth.
And Ashtaroth. See, they were serving this ancient god in Israel. The children of Israel was doing that. They were serving this god right here. Read that again.
Verse 6. And the children of Israel did evil again in the sight of the Most High, and served Baalim and Ashtaroth, the god of the Syrians.
See, and the god of the Syrians. You see that? Go ahead.
And the god of Zidon, and the gods of the Moab, and the gods of the children of Ammon, and the gods of the Philistines, and forsook the Most High, and served him not.
You see, so that's one thing that the Most High was always warned the children of Israel from doing, serving other gods. And yes, Ashtaroth or Easter is a god. So if you're partaking in Easter Sunday, you're going to sacrifice to a god, and that's one of the things that the Creator hates. You know what I'm saying? And you know that, and that's the thing. We read earlier in 2 Corinthians that the god of this world has hid the gospel of Christ from the lost. and our people are lost. So that's why, our people is serving, and they're going willfully and joyfully to celebrate Easter Sunday, not knowing that they're really serving a different God, right? So let's go to the book of Jeremiah. More on this on this God. So we see that Ashtaroth is also the same God as Ishtar, and Ishtar is the same thing as Easter. That's a goddess that you're celebrating. You're celebrating a goddess of fertility. All right. So now she's also known as the Queen of Heaven. That's how the Bible also explained it too. The Queen of Heaven is the same, it's different names, but it's the same deity that you're worshiping. So we're going to the book of Jeremiah, right? Let's go to the book of Jeremiah chapter 7. And we're going to start at verse 18. Jeremiah 7 and 18. We're going to see a custom that our people fell into, worshiping this goddess, Easter. So that's an ancient God that people are celebrating. And it's an ancient feast, so it didn't just come out of nowhere. So there is an origin for Easter, but it's not the origin from the Most High. You're going to come to find that out. So Jeremiah 7 verse 18, starting at verse 18.
Jeremiah chapter 7 verse 18. The children gathered wood, and the fathers kindled the fire, and the women knead their dough to make cakes to the Queen of Heaven, and to pour out drink offerings unto other gods, that they may provoke me to anger.
So you see, that was like the starting. That was like that's what the children of Israel started to do. They still kept that same ancient custom that they was doing to Ashtaroth, but now they're calling her the Queen of Heaven. They was baking cakes to her, and they was pouring out drink offerings to her, and the Most High was upset about that. It's the same thing that our people is doing today, going to church on Easter Sunday and feasting and bringing offerings to this queen or to this goddess. Same thing the children of Israel was doing back then. We still doing it today, but it's just under a different name. That's how we know that Satan is the author of all confusion. He comes in many different names, which all leads back to him. So now let's go, still in the book of Jeremiah. We're going to go to the book of Jeremiah, chapter 44. We're going to start at verse 17. Starting at verse 17. Now we're going to see that the children of Israel started to realize that since they started to, deal with this Queen of Heaven, this goddess Ashtaroth, or this goddess Ishtar or Easter, we're going to see their plight now. Go ahead.
Jeremiah chapter 44, verse 17.
Go ahead.
But we will certainly do whatsoever thing goeth forth out of our own mouths, to burn incense unto the Queen of Heaven, and to pour out drink offerings unto her, as we have done, we and our fathers, our kings, and our princes of the city of Judah, and in the city and in the streets of Jerusalem. For then we had plenty of victuals, and were well, and saw no evil.
So you see, so the children of Israel, they was okay following this goddess. And they knew this goddess by name. They called her the Queen of Heaven, also known as Ashtaroth, Ishtar, or, as we say in modern times, Easter. Right? Continue.
Verse 18. But since we left off to burn incense to the Queen of Heaven, and to pour out drink offerings unto her, we have wanted all things, and have been consumed by the sword and by the famine.
You see? So since they started sacrificing to this God and started pouring out drink offerings to this God, now they started to lack things. Like now they started to have a famine in the land, and they was being overtaken by the sword. Different armies was coming out against them, and the Most High was letting evil happen to the children of Israel. Go ahead.
Verse 19. And when we burned incense to the Queen of Heaven and poured out drink offerings unto her, did we make her cakes to worship her and pour out drink offerings unto her without our men? So
you see, the leaders of this was the women. The women were actually set up to do this, and to pour out drink offerings to this goddess. because it was a goddess, it was a woman. So you know that woman power joint that didn't just start now. It's been like that since back then. It stuck together. So we see that they was sacrificing to this different god that the Most High was to set. Jump down to verse 25.
Verse 25.
Now here's what the Most High had to say about them doing this act. Go ahead.
Thus saith the Most High of hosts, the God of Israel, saying, Ye and your wives have both spoken with your mouths, and fulfilled with your hand, saying, We will surely perform our vows that we have vowed, to burn incense to the Queen of Heaven.
See, Astaroth, a star, Easter, go ahead.
And to pour out drink offerings unto her. Ye will surely accomplish your vows, and surely perform your vows.
Go ahead.
Verse 26. Therefore, hear ye the word of the Most High, all Judah that dwell in the land of Egypt. Behold, I have sworn by my great name, saith the Most High, that my name shall no more be named in the mouth of any man of Judah in all the land of Egypt, saying, The Most High power liveth. Verse 27, Behold, I will watch over them for evil.
So you see the Most High said he would bring evil to them. He will watch over them for evil. No more will he watch over them for good, but for evil. Why? Because they were sacrificing to this strange god, to this goddess, the Queen of Heaven, Astaroth. Go ahead.
And not for good. And all the men of Judah that are in the land of Egypt shall be consumed by the sword and by the famine, until there be an end of them.
So that was the punishment that our people received at that time for following that goddess. You understand? So we see the origin of Easter right here in the scriptures as well. But is it an origin that was ordained by the Most High? No, it wasn't. So now the question that we asked in the beginning, Passover or Easter, which one will you guys choose?
That's right.
Passover. Because you see, when the people started doing Easter, they was getting destroyed by the Most High. So, and I hope this lesson was, so you guys got understanding. Because, the Passover is actually this Sabbath. And we're going to commune and we're going to celebrate the Most High for what he's done for our people. And no longer will we follow Easter. There's that pagan feast to the goddess of Star, or Astaroth, the Queen of Heaven. So with that, we're going to say shalom.
Shalom.
And may the Most High be with all. All right?